My name is Rabbi Alex Chapper. I'm the community rabbi of Bournemouth and Elstree Synagogue.
I am Rabbi Debbie Young-Summers. I'm the community educator for the Movement for Reform Judaism.
My name is Julie Siddiqui and I am currently co-founder of an organisation called Nisan Hashim.
My name is Kari Asim. I am senior imam at Makkah Mosque in Leeds.
Being Jewish for me is about how I interpret and find meaning in the world. It's an identity, and it's part of being a big family. I find meaning in my life through using thousands of years of Jewish debate and discussion and conversation, through interpreting our history and our shared experiences, to continue to find meaning and comfort and particularly joy in the world.
So for me, being Jewish is about knowing that there's a purpose and a meaning to life, and that we're all here for a unique purpose. We all have something special only we can contribute to the world around us. What I love most about Judaism is that it adds an added dimension to our lives. We see that we're here in this world in order to be the best versions of who we are, to make a contribution, to know that we are unique and special and have something to give. I think perhaps one of the best teachings of Judaism is in the name of the great sage Rabbi Akiva and the sage Hillel, that love is easier than hate. That there's so much hate in this world that it can be dispelled with a little bit of love. And to know that we can promote love and friendship and respect for other people, that's a tremendous thing we can all achieve.
The one thing that I love about my faith is we believe in God and have a direct connection with God. So regular conversations with God at all times of the day without a need for anybody to be in between. So I feel it's a very personal faith. My connection with God is very important, but also it's very much part of a community. So you're an individual, but also part of a community.
Islam says smiling at others is an act of charity, and that's something that we as human beings, do that anyway, but it like brings in a added element to my life to say, actually, when you are good to other human beings, not that others will like you, but also God will also be pleased with you. So Islam is effectively being in service of God and service of human beings. Now, what do I mean by being in service of God? It means that effectively having a personal relationship with God, which means sometimes performing ritual acts of worship, like 5 daily prayers, which are a personal relationship that I have between myself and my Lord, and then also trying to serve human beings, like being good to them, being a good neighbor, not cheating anyone, not lying to anyone, just being a human being that's liked by others. That is ultimately the aim and objective of Islam as well. There are 5 pillars of Islam: belief in one God, belief in Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to be the final messenger and servant of God, and 5 daily prayers. Thirdly, giving charity, 2.5% on your annual savings. Fourthly, it's fasting in the month of Ramadan, and finally, it's performing a pilgrimage to Mecca, which is known as Hajj.
We believe that life is temporary, and that there is a life after this life that we don't fully understand, but we know that whatever we do in this life counts for what will happen in the next life.
Jews do not practice in the same way at all, even within the same family or within the same group or denomination of Jews. Practice is very, very diverse, and we can't even say that Orthodox Jews do this and Reform Jews do that. Judaism has always been very diverse, very multivocal, and debate and disagreement is kind of part of the fabric of what it means to be Jewish, and one of the things that I love most about it.
There are 2 major denominations in Islam, Sunnis and Shias. Majority of the Muslims are Sunnis, and so they come from all over the world. The majority of them tend to be from South Asia and also the Middle East, but there are also Shias, who are again from all over the world.
We have a funny saying, which is 2 Jews, 3 opinions. that Jews don't really agree on anything, but we have different ways of expressing our Judaism. Some people take a very strict approach in terms of their observance of Jewish law. Others are much more relaxed and interpret it in different ways.
As Muslims come from all over the world, from different countries, there are differences in the way Muslims practice their faith, and that's not just unique to Muslims. Effectively, African Christianity is different to European Christianity, because what happens as human beings, we take into account our local culture. So there are certain things that Muslims who are from the Middle East, they'll do in certain ways. Muslims who are from the Far East, they will do in certain ways. Muslims who are from Central Africa, they'll do in certain ways.
I think what else really kind of fascinates me, and the older I get, the more I want to explore this, is the way that Islam as a faith is practiced differently depending on which country you're in.
Jews have really come from all over the world, from Eastern Europe, from Middle Eastern countries and African countries.
Jews are not a race. We don't look one way, although we might be used to thinking that in the UK. Jews are very diverse and come from all kinds of backgrounds, speak all kinds of languages, and have specialist Jewish languages that adapted to the places they lived. So many people will know about Yiddish, which is a European, German, Russian, Polish, Hebrew mishmash. But there was also a language called Ladino, which was a mixture of Spanish and Hebrew. There's also Judeo-Arabic, which has Hebrew and Arabic mixed in together and is written out in Hebrew letters. So Jews have really adapted to wherever they've lived and become culturally part of the local society while still maintaining their unique Jewish practices.
As Muslims are about 24% of the population in the world, Muslims come from all over the world. There are Muslims from Somalia, from Central Africa, from Australia, from all the way to Far East, from Indonesia, Malaysia, from Pakistan, from the Middle East. The Muslims are not homogeneous community. They are from all over the world, just like they're human beings who have a particular faith. So it's not that Muslims are a particular race. It's about Muslims are just human beings living in the world with a different outlook on life, and they have a faith in God.
So there are roughly around about 13 to 15 million Jewish people in the world today. Majority of them live in Israel, about 6 million. Around about 6 million also live in America. In this country here in the UK, there are between 250 to 300,000 Jews. And there are significant Jewish communities around the world. So in Europe, France, Germany, in Australia, in Canada, there are large Jewish populations as well.
There are around 1.8 billion Muslims in the world. So according to Pew Research, last year in 2017, 24% of the population in the world is Muslims, and that's obviously growing. So sometimes we tend to think that Muslims are, just from a particular origin or from a particular background, but actually, 24% of the population is Muslims.
So we pray in synagogues, which are much like churches or mosques. They are community centres, they are learning centres, they are often centres of social action, and they are halls of prayer.
All of the world is a place of prayer. So it's not that you have to go and specifically pray in a place. You may have seen people with a prayer mat, for example, which is just purely because it's supposed to be a clean place. But actually we're told by God that all of the world is a place of prayer. But of course mosques are welcomed and valued, and that's partly also to do with praying as a community rather than just praying on your own.
So one of the most important aspects of Jewish life are the laws of kashrut, the laws of kosher, governing how and what we're allowed to eat.
It's not actually just about law and about what you can and can't do, but about a set of values that help us live an ethical life as well. So the quality of the animal's life is really important, and the quality of the animal's death is really important.
So the names of laws around food are halal and haram. Halal means that it's permissible, it's lawful, and haram means that it's not permitted, it's impermissible, and it's unlawful. And that's a key distinction that we have. So something that's halal, meaning lawful, you can obviously eat it, drink it, and something that's haram, unlawful, you can't drink it, you can't eat it.
The overriding principle in terms of dress for Jewish people is that it has to be modest for both men and women. A Jewish man and boy will wear a kippah, a head covering, as a sign that reminding us that God is above us and that we should be humble in our ways. In the Orthodox world, married Orthodox women would keep their head covered, either by using a hat or a scarf, or sometimes they'll wear a wig.
How we understand modesty, I think, changes through the ages. So in some Jewish communities, women will only wear skirts. I will wear trousers, and most Reform and liberal Jews are very comfortable allowing everybody, male or female, to choose whatever it is they want to wear, however they feel comfortable.
Men and women have to dress in a certain way in Islam. So as a bare minimum, men have to cover themselves from just above the navel to their knees, and women have to cover their full bodies, including their hair. So they have to wear a scarf on their heads, also known as hijab. Now these are the rules, and there are some people who follow these rules, others don't follow their rules. And I think what's important for us to remember that we shouldn't be judging others and actually passing judgments on others. We should know what the rules are, and each is to their own, each is to themselves as to how they follow those rules.
So perhaps the most important day of the Jewish week is Shabbat, the day of rest, and where we remember how God created the world in 6 days and rested from creating activity on the 7th day. That gives us an opportunity to reflect on the important things in life, to spend time with our friends, family, and with the community. We spend quite a while in synagogue, in prayer, and in learning, and it's really an opportunity to step back, to detox a little bit from the busy activities of the week, and to relax and refresh ourselves.
Shabbat begins on Friday evening and ends on Saturday evening. It's 25 hours, and it's really Judaism's gift to the world, a reminder that if we try to work every day that we are given, we will burn ourselves out and we will be useless for everybody.
The term Allah means the God, and so we use in English we use the term God. In Persian they use the term Khuda to refer to God. But when we are talking about Allah, that's something that's used across the Muslim world, meaning the God. The book that Muslims believe in is known as the Quran, and Muslims believe that the message as well as the word came from God. So that's why Muslims all over the world follow the book Holy Quran.
If somebody sees something or something happens to them, or they see it happening to someone else, never just stand by. Always be somebody who wants to help others. But if something happens to you, as has happened to me, never just presume that it's just something you have to take. You don't have to take. Discrimination, hate crime, the law is on your side.
Britain is one of the most tolerant countries in the world, but we're seeing pockets of hatred. There's anti-Muslim hatred, Islamophobia, there's anti-Semitism, there's so much hatred towards the other. And I think that's important, that faith leadership breaks down those barriers, and we need to improve religious literacy. We need to improve literacy about others, so that we think that someone who looks different from us, someone who dresses differently from us, someone who has a different lifestyle from us, someone who has a different faith from us, does not make them an alien.
For me, I think the key word is respect. That as a religious leader, all faith leaders, we have a responsibility to teach respect, both within our own communities, but also for the wider world. And particularly respecting difference, to recognize that every person has a path that they choose to follow, and that right path, if it's right for them, we should respect it, even if it's not the same path and we don't agree with it. And that really is a responsibility that we as leaders should be taking, and everybody else should follow that lead.